All right, it is the 12th of August 2023. I do trust that you had a wonderful week and you're having a wonderful weekend. Welcome to the program tonight. This is Lookup Weekend. My name is Brian Amwai. Now tonight we do have so much lined up for you from the political front as Azimio La Umoja Coalition continues to castigate the use of force during protest as they attended the burial of two of the people who died in the hands of the police. And also the Kenya Kwanza side is also adamant castigating the opposition for what it calls unlawful protests that have been carried out in the country and what they threaten to do in the coming days. This and much more on the program tonight. So engage us on our socials at Amwai Brian, that is on Twitter, at Lookuptv. The hashtag we are using tonight is Lookup Weekend. We are also live on Facebook and on YouTube, so be sure to send your feedback on those particular social platforms and I'll be able to sample some of it as we continue with the program tonight. Do tell us where you are watching us from and what you think about the stories that we are running today. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Josephine Oko, but first, these are the top stories tonight. Tonight on Lookup Weekend.
The top of your voice in another part of the country and you are purporting to be a leader of a country. Every life must count. And then you're obsessed with saying, oh, my next responsibility is to take Raila to Bondo.
Kenyans are not mad to protest, says Azimio leader Raila as he accuses the government of failing to address fundamental issues.
Wiki jao tunatagaza another program. Sasa muambie watu wenu wawachane na mambo ya maandamano, wawachane na mambo ya sufuria kwa kichwa, waende wajiandikishe, wachukue fertilizer, waende kwa shamba.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua criticizes Azimio protest strategy, saying it's time for Kenyans to work. We tell you of the hard-working widows of Mua who plant trees and conserve the environment. And on our special feature tonight, a rising football star talks about discovering her prowess in football while serving a 3-year sentence. All right, now let's start the program tonight. Azimio leader Raila says the tough economic situation occasioned by the Kenya Kwanza government has forced many Kenyans to take to the streets to protest. Now speaking on Saturday, Raila said the protests were not purely because the opposition had convened them. Now the ODM leader also took the time to call out the Kenya Kwanza government for condoning police brutality that led to several people dead as they took to the streets. Azimio leader Raila led the Azimio brigade in mourning the death of their supporters who died as a result of police brutality in Nyanza and Western region. Odinga has condemned the use of force, insisting that the forthcoming talks will only happen when there is goodwill from the government.
Yes, we can talk, but we'll only talk so long as there is a conducive environment for talking. We have also said we do not want a share in Kenya Kwanza government. We do not want handshake, hands which are tainted with the innocent blood of our people. We will not touch those hands. Not touch those hands. We will not touch those hands. We will.
Odinga castigated Ruto for his latest remarks about taking him to Bondo.
And then you're obsessed with saying, oh, my next responsibility is to take Raila to Bondo. Raila knows how to get to Bondo. I don't need Ruto to take me to Bondo. But what is done is criminal.
Odinga maintained that they will not be cowed, promising to carry on with demonstrations in the coming days.
Somebody goes and then prides himself, praises the policeman when he's talking in another part of the country, spewing political propaganda. That, nitawakalia ngumu. Nitawakalia ngumu. Yei, hawajaniona, wataniona. Nitawakanyaga. Tumewakanyaga. Because you've killed innocent people, you're going to shout at the top of your voice in another part of the country and you're purporting to be a leader of a country. That Kenyans have a right. People have reason to go to the streets. People are not mad to go to the streets merely because Raila said go to the streets. They're going there because of their good reason to do so. They're talking about high cost of living. They're talking about high taxation. They're talking about education for their children. They're talking about electoral justice. All these are very fundamental issues that Kenyans are raising against this regime.
Odinga and his brigade mourned with the parents of 2 men who died in protests in Luanda.
Ilikuwa siku ya Friday 21st, kama watu wanaandamana. Tukiwa kwa nyumba kitu saa 8:30, saa 9 polisi wamefukuza watu, tumejifungia kwa nyumba. Vijana wangu wawili na kwa nimewachukulia nyumba karibu na mimi penye huwa analala. Sasa ikifika wasaa ya maandamano huwa anawaambia muende kwa nyumba mjifungie ndani. Kwa leo wananisikia, wanaenda kwa nyumba wanajifungia ndani. Sasa hiyo siku kitu saa 8:30 nikasikia jirani ananiita, ananiambia Nyamalo, umekaa kwa nyumba na watoto wako wanauliwa. Nisimama kwa mlango, nikakimbia, nikaenda kwa gate, nikafungua gate, nikapiga magoti, nikapata watoto wamelalishwa hapo wanapigwa.
Vijana ambao tumekuja hapa leo kuzika huyo Brian, huyo William na Benjamin ni vijana chipukizi, watoto wachanga kabisa ambayo haifai wanakufa kwa njia ya vile imefanyika. Hii ni kitu ya kuzunisha sana taifa. Manake watoto ni maua ya nchi.
As we speak, the number that we have confirmed is 72. And we are going to be able to publish these names as early as tomorrow. 72 deaths and still counting of Kenyans who have lost their lives from police bullets or truncheons, as was the case of the 2 boys in Nyalenda, whom we are burying today in Luanda.
All right, now away from that, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua says the government will foot part of the cost of maize drying to help lessen the burden of farmers in Nandi and those from the food basket region of the Rift Valley. Now, the Deputy President, who attended a fundraising function in support of ACK Church, furthermore says the national government is putting in place elaborate measures that will facilitate a one-on-one engagement with farmers to purchase and pay for the maize within 48 hours. As our reporter Henry Tende now files, Gachagua is confident President Ruto will in short time reduce the high cost of living and has told the opposition not to derail government plans through demonstrations.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, flanked by other leaders in the Kenya Kwanza government, arrived in Nandi County ahead of a fundraising function to support the ACK Church. Gachagua making an entry in one of the counties known to produce large volume of maize. The second in command now says the government will help the farmers to shoulder part of the cost of drying the maize.
Tunajaribu, tumepata bumper harvest, tunashughulikia mambo mawili. Kutafuta dryers ya kutosha, tukisaidiana na hawa magavana, ambaye ile kiwango itawekwa, mkulima atalipa nusu na serikali italipa nusu.
As the government expects a bumper harvest following a fertilizer subsidy program, Gachagua says government has put in place elaborate measures that will see it procure maize for the National Cereals Board and pay within 2 days.
Rais aliniagiza kabla hajaondoka nianze kuweka mikakati ikifikia Jumatatu hii na National Treasury na Ministry of Agriculture na National Cereals and Produce Board, tuweke pesa ya kutosha ya kuchukua mahindi ya wakulima na kulipa within 48 hours. Ndio tumalizane na mambo ya mabrokers.
Gachagua has demanded accountability from elected members of parliament in the way they put to use CDF funds.
MPs, tumia pesa mzuri. Iko pesa basari. Peana basari in a fair and transparent manner. Pea kuwa na usawa. Hapana chukua pesa ya basari kupatia matajiri. Peana kwa kila mtu. Hizi shule ya primary school, jenga. Badilisha uso ya shule. You have an opportunity, mjulikane kwa kazi peke yake na kuongea bunge na kutetea rais na serikali yetu. So mimi sasa kazi yangu nilimaliza. Ya maendeleo nitamsaidia. Mkija tusukume hii, lakini kazi yenyewe kwa ground nyinyi ndio mtafanya. Na mtakuja kuuza kazi yenu. Unasimama kwa platform unasema nimefanya hii, nipatie miaka ingine 5 niendelee.
Gachagua has reiterated that President Ruto is on course to addressing the high cost of living through targeted interventions and has warned the opposition not to derail the process through demonstrations.
Dalili ya uchumi kuboreka imeanza kuonekana. Why? For the first time in the last 7 years, by the closure of the financial year June 30th, hawa magavana tumewapatia pesa yao yote. They have no reason not to work for the people of Nandi and elsewhere. How MPs hawa, huyu MP wetu Kituru, pesa yake yote ya CDF tumekupatia, almost 150 million. So that is a sign that the economy has started doing better.
With farmers now in the harvest season, only time will tell whether the fertilizer subsidy worked in line with government's ambition to lower the cost of living through subsidized production. Henry Tende, Lookuptv.
Thank you, Henry Tende, for that report. Moving on, 15 companies have expressed interest in the Galana Kulalu Food Security Project in Kilifi, Tana River border. Now, the project, which sits on more than 200,000 acres of land, has faced many challenges before, with the government now keen on a private-public partnership model to ensure food security.
The Galana Kulalu project, which was targeted to produce enough food for the nation and was faced with a number of challenges, now seems to have a new dawn. The government, through private investors, plans to start irrigation farming to benefit the National Food Fund. One of those private investors is Peter Njonjo, who is the owner of Selu Limited Company. Njonjo intends to invest in maize cultivation under the project with the hope of creating approximately 2,000 jobs.
One thing that we want to highlight is that, unlike other parts of the country, the maize crop takes 105 days here. So it means that with irrigation, you can actually do 3 crops a year, including a rotational crop. And when you take that into account and the high yield, then this has an opportunity of actually creating a huge transformation as far as maize is concerned. At 20,000 acres, we anticipate that we can get to as high as 2 million bags a year. And that starts now making a difference in terms of pricing. Our objective is to ensure that with this yield, we can then give back to society a lower price product that is of very, very high quality.
The Selu Limited Company has now been experimenting different types of maize to determine the type of maize that will perform the best in the irrigation environment of the Galana Kulalu project. This plan will involve private investors who will spearhead the project with calculated plans to be implemented within 1 month, when more investors will be given more opportunities. While the project is in the beginning phase, the government assures provision of water for the irrigation of the project.
We've set up a pilot phase of 495 acres. And the purpose of this pilot phase is for us to, in detail, interrogate and try out different factors of production to enable us develop a standard protocol which we'll use in the bigger production phase of 10,000 and 20,000 acres later on. To be able to develop the fertilizer regimes, we've carried out extensive soil analysis and study to look at the structure, look at the nutrient content, to look at the water retention capacity, organic matter content, among other things.
Water and Irrigation Cabinet Secretary Alice Wahome has acknowledged that the government will ensure the project is successful in the hope of improving food security in the country.
As National Irrigation Authority, when we started, we also did piloting to see what seeds, what varieties will do well. Was doing at 32 bags per acre, and not always, So the work that Twiga is doing here is perfect. Twiga will take 20,000 acres. We do have enough water. We have done our estimates. We have enough water to irrigate 10,000 acres here.
Wairimu Wasike, Lookuptv.
Now, a 76-year-old woman currently admitted at the Machakos Level 5 hospital is calling on well-wishers to help her raise money to acquire a wheelchair after suffering a hip bone fracture. Now, the woman, who has been at the facility for 7 months, has gone through a lonely recovery as no family members have been seen during that period.
At the Machakos Level 5 hospital, Helida Onyango, a 76-year-old woman, is in solitude. She fractured a thigh bone from a fatal fall which broke her limb too. Contrary to many accident victims who often have loved ones by their side during recovery, Helida is all alone with no relative in sight. Pamela Achieng, a well-wisher who was moved by Helida's situation, is calling on wishers to support her purchase of a wheelchair and a raised transport to her home in Game in Siaya County.
Wakati alikuwa anatembea, kuna mali kwa njia ilimwaga maji, mama akanyaga kateresa, akaanguka akafunjika mguu. Wakati alivunjika, kesho yake nikampeleka at River Health Center, akatibiwa, hapo wakasema mama lazima aende apigwe picha angaliwe nini ilimfanya mguu. Nikamchukua nikamleta Machakos Level 5.
According to Pamela, the grandmother has no known relatives as she has been living with her in the slums of Athi River in the past 23 years. After many years at the facility, the hospital waived the bill that had accumulated over time, but Helida is still unable to move around as she has no source of income.
Mwaka yenye ako nayo ni mwaka mingi na ana watu wake, ana familia yake, ana watu wako pia tujui hata mtu mmoja. Sasa mimi mwenyewe nilijaribu kumsaidia ndio huyu mama apate usaidizi. Sasa tulikuwa tunaomba mwenye ako na roho yenye anaweza saidia huyu mama Helida amekoma pale hospitali, tumchukue tumrudishe kwao Siaya.
For now, Pamela is calling on Goodwill Kenyans to help in facilitating her leaders financially and calls upon her relatives to come out and take her home. With well-wishers advised to contact Pamela Achieng on contact number 0725 409 375. Beatrice Njoroge, Lookuptv.
Story then takes us to our first break here on Lookup. We can continue engaging us on our socials. Atamoy Brian, that is on Twitter at Lookuptv. We are also live on Facebook, so do tell us where you are watching us from and what you think about the stories that we are running today. Let me just take a look at some of the feedback that you've sent here. Jeff Jaffet says, tuned in. Baros Clamito, a true hero, I believe it's in regards to the story that we are doing about Raila Odinga. And also Jack Osoro says, tuned in. Thank you so much for tuning in for this particular broadcast and trusting us to bring you up to date with the news making headlines across the country. We are not done. We are coming back with much more.
Karibu mtazamaji kwenye kipindi cha jamii na itikadi.
Kaini kitako tuna mengi.
Mapenzi yanapoanza watu huitana bebi na majina mengine matamu, lakini baadaye penzi linapogeuka na kuwa shubiri,
mtu anafikia kwenda kumtafuta mke mwingine.
Itakuwaje?
Yule wa kwake nyumbani labda hajamridhisha.
Ni sawa ama vipi Maliki?
Dadangu, wanaume ni kama maembe.
Huyu ni mwanamume atakuja abadiliki.
Mwanaume mwenye wanawake wengi hata katika uchumba, kwenye ndoa ataendelea. Mtu na tabia yake hawachi. Ile umbo la kike likishaanza kila kitu kishaanza kuwa mahali pake.
Ningependa kukuona.
Sijaenda mahali ambapo mimi nilisikia mtu ati huyu alikuwa shujaa, alikufa katika mstari wa mbele wa ndoa. Sijawahi sikia mimi.
Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na manjoro. Every Sunday saa 10. Jiunge na mimi ili nikufundishe mengi kuhusu ukulima wa nyanya, wa mboga, kuweka ng'ombe, kila kitu ambayo inahusikana na ukulima, ili ujifundishe mengi, uweze kujua ukulima pia ni mali. Kumbuka kipindi ni nini? Kipindi ni ukulima ni mali na Manjoro, upate hela.
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution or a university and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today on 011 0430 158, 011 0430 158 or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
So the story we're telling today is a story of passion in practice that grows into business.
We have partnered with the Youth Fund, talk to as many youth as possible and work with them, hold their hand.
It is an expose of captains who have decided to take on challenges in different sectors and industries within the country.
My mentors had also not started as CEOs. They grew up and they showed me how they grew in the organizations. So that's what motivated me to actually do international business. And it was a good experience.
As an individual, support in bridging the care gap, part of me also to offer a solution. I want to leave this world a better place than I found it.
This is the Captain's Arena. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us here on Look Up Weekend. We continue with the program tonight. Now, windows under the Ngomano Arandiwa Women's Group in Mua, Machakos County have touched hearts with their tree planting and environmental conservation efforts. Now, their hard work has gained recognition from different organizations which have helped provide water for residents through the construction of a dam.
Ngomano Akandiwa Group, which is involved in tree planting activities in Mua, Machakos County, consists of 20 members who are mostly widows. The project is intended to empower them and at the same time combat climate change.
Na sisi tunafanya kazi ya kupanda miti ya kukula, hizi zingine sina fence, tunapanda hizo sote. Saa hizi miti tunasipanda ndio tujenge hii environment yetu ya huku Mua. Tukipanda sinatuletea pesa hizo miti. Tunataka watu wengine wanunue wakapande kwao ili wafaidike kama sisi.
According to Christine Dunge, who is a member of the group, their seedling selling initiative has brought on board many organizations which have been key in supporting their conservation efforts as well as sponsoring some of their projects.
Sasa tumejipata kwa hii project hii mko nayo juu wanatujua tunapandanga miti.
This comes as the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority planted over 1,000 tree seedlings in Muarada Center, Machakos County in liaison with the group which supplied different varieties of the seedlings found across the country.
There's a CSR policy which we are driving. And one of the thematic areas is on environment. So we are here to plant trees so that we conserve the environment.
Chief Corporate Communication Officer at KCCA Salim Bakari says they intend to plant 23,000 trees every year, according to the Kenyan government initiative led by President Ruto, which intends to plant 15 billion trees, a move aimed at reducing greenhouse emission, stopping and reversing deforestation and restoring 5.1 million hectares of degraded landscape.
They are doing very good work. You should visit them to see the nurseries which they have. So in their request, they had quite a number of issues. One of them which we have considered positively, and we are going to give them a token donation of about 250,000 Kenya shillings so that they have a dam liner so that they can be able to harvest water which can be used to progress their activities. We have a commitment to plant about 23,000 seedlings. So we've come up with a program where we want to visit areas like Kapseret in Eldoret, areas like Kakamega Forest, there are areas in Narok. We want to go to Malindi's Araboke's Sokoke Forest.
Amin Abdrahman, Lookuptv.
Right, congratulations to those widows. Away from that, a high school student in Githungu, Kirinyaga County, was found dead, his hands cuffed behind his back. Parents of the deceased now accuse 3 assistant chiefs of the heinous act after a past fallout. Now this and more stories in the county roundup.
Anger and fear best describes the mood in Bori village in Gishogo, Kirinyaga County. A high school student found dead, his hands cuffed behind his back. Parents of the deceased now claim that 2 assistant chiefs are involved after they reported one of them having an affair with a Form 1 student from a local school. Investigation into the matter is ongoing, with DCI officers moving with speed to bring perpetrators to book.
Sasa kwenda kuchukulia nduru mahali natoka, tukasikia ni mtu amenyonga. Kukibia na hapo chini mahali kuna kuanga na mtu lakini kalikuwa kamekauka, tukapata hapo kando kuna kama mtu kamenyonga hapo, au kijana alikuwa amejihang na kamba, na mikono yake mbili ilikuwa na pingu ambayo zilikuwa zimekatiwa katikati. Sasa kufuatiliza story tu vile umati ilikuwa inasema ikasemekana sijui kajana kalikuwa na uhusiano na kamtoto ka shule. Sasa kakakuja ikahape nikakashikwa na assistant chief kakapelekwa kwake, sijui mahali vile atujui vile kalitoka mikononi mwake kakakuja kakajinyongea kwao.
Investigations are on. More reports to follow when we get the full report. A postmortem has been done and we established the cause of death.
Elsewhere, education sector stakeholders have been advised to prepare adequately ahead of the triple transition in the new curriculum. The transition from grade 6, junior and senior schools call for education infrastructure provision to be shouldered by parents among other stakeholders. Speaking at Suguta Secondary, Kenya Secondary School Association Chairman Masaba South, Sub-County Robinson Matara, remarked that the last CBC's transition saw difficulties in implementation.
The students transiting from junior secondary or junior school to senior school, and this is where we are going to have education pathways. The pathways that will prepare these learners to take their various careers depending on their ability. So as a school, you need to prepare for that transition so that you put up enough infrastructure, and therefore this calls for parents, the leadership, the political leadership in this area, and everyone else.
Finally, in efforts to bring illiteracy levels, Samburu East MP Jackson Lukomontare has disbursed 60 million shilling CDF bursary to boost infrastructure and stabilize security. The legislature has also tasked area chiefs with the responsibility of identifying needy children in the constituency and documenting it by September this year.
Tuliweza kupeana milioni 60 kwa wakati huu ambayo ilienda kwa maendeleo. Tuliweza kupeleka mpaka mashinani. Hapa tumeona mashule zetu karibu kwa kila kona wameweza kufaidika.
Kevin Nyapara, Lookuptv.
Right, now let's get sporty tonight. The final day of the Kenya National Secondary School Ball Games registered mixed results as different teams fought for the chance to represent the country in the East Africa Secondary Games that will be held in Rwanda. Now, in the boys football category, St. Anthony Kitale defeated Dagoretti High School 2-0. Now, in the finals, as Butere girls stand Uyeta by solitary goal in the girls category. Now, in the girls volleyball, African champions Kwantanze were trounced by 3-1 against Kesogon from Rift Valley. The champions in each category will now represent the country in Rwanda. At the National 7 Circuit, log leaders Kabras Sugar started their Christie Sevens game with 2 wins. The Kakamega Best lads won 59 points to 0 against Impala before hammering Masinde Muliro 24 points to 12. Now, the first edition of Dallas Sevens winner KCB defeated Catholic Monks 26 points to 7 and trounced Strathmore Leos 40 points to 0. The finals of the Christie 7 will be held tomorrow at RFUEA grounds in Nairobi. Now, Kadzo Ngumbao is a rising football star playing for Gitothua Starlets. At just 18 years, she has faced 3-year jail term, a place where she discovered her football talent. Here is a story produced by Robert Chacha and voiced by Ruth Washeke.
As women football continues to gain momentum across the globe, here in the country, Gitothua Starlets are putting the best foot forward. Today, they are in a training session at Githongori High School in Ruiru, Kiambu County. Among the players is 18-year-old Kadzo Ngumbao, born and raised in Kilifi County. Watching her from a distance, she appears zealous and full of life. But life has not always been smooth. 3 years ago, she served a 3-year sentence at Kamae Girls Boston Institute, Kamiti. Just where did the rain start beating her?
Nimesomea shule ilikuwa inaitwa Paziani Primary School. Nikamaliza, after kumaliza shule, nikajoin Form 1 Bandari Secondary School. Nilikaa term moja, then nikaambiwa niende nyumbani juu ya school fees. So nilienda nyumbani. Kufika nyumbani, babangu hakuwa na uwezo wa kunilipia school fees. So nikakaa nyumbani. Mwaka moja nilipatanga boyfriend. Mimi nilikuwa tu nakaa nyumbani alafu naenda kwao. During the process nikapatanga ball. So mimi nikaambia huyo kijana akakataa. Sasa kukataa na juu environment yetu ilikuanga mbaya. Mimi nikadecided kuabort. So siku yenye sana niliabort, during the bleeding process ndio watu wakajua. Sasa kujua nikapelekwa kwa chief, ni alinikujia home, tukaenda kwa sub chief. Kufika kwa sub chief tukaongea na huyo sub chief, akaniambia tuende na yeye hosi, niende nisafishwe. So nikaenda na yeye. So hiyo njia ya kwenda hosi karibu kuna police station. So akanichukua akanipeleka police station.
Kadzo, now a Form 3 student at Waterfall High School in Nyahururu, Laikipia County, recounts with nostalgia her life behind bars, which she says was tough to say the least.
Nasema maisha hapo ilikuwa ngumu, venye nilikuwa niko mgeni hapo, lakini time yenye nilikakaa niliona tu maisha iko sawa juu. The more I respect wale teachers wenye wako hapo, maisha yako tu itakuwa tu sawa. Lakini ukiambiwa kitu kama tuseme umeambiwa ufagia alafu hujafagia, so unaona wewe ndio maisha yako itakuwa ngumu. Lakini chenye utaambiwa ufanye, ukifanya, unaona tu maisha yako tu iko sawa juu utagombana na mtu.
But in the midst of all the hardship, she motivated herself and resulted to working on her football talent, at the same time further her studies.
So hapo hivi ndani watu wana nature talent zao, na mimi nilikuwa na hii talent ya kucheza football. Sasa siku moja coach wa Gitothua Starlets alipanga, akakuja huko hivi tukakuja tukacompete na Gitothua Starlets, na mimi nilikuwa nacheza striking. Sasa wakati nilifunga ndio huyo coach wa Gitothua Starlets akaamua kunichukua nikuje nijoin timu yake.
John Baraka, Gitothua Starlets coach, was captivated by Kadzo's talent, and this was the genesis of her freedom.
Maisha yake yamebadilika sana sana, ukiangalia amezoea miaka 3 kukaa kule ndani kidogo, maisha hakuna freedom, hakuna nini, akili pia imefungika kidogo kimawazo. Lakini unapata tokea toke kule kimpira hapa endeleza talanta. Timu yetu iko kwa ligi region. Shule ambayo wasoma timu ya shule inacheza National Division 1. Saa hii ambayo imeformiwa NSL watakuwa NSL. Kwa hivyo unapata imemo-expose. Tokeaje kwa timu amekuwa-expose na maisha huku nje. Hapa kwa timu yetu pia tuko na wasichana wakubwa ambao wanacheza ligi, wengi ni wasomi, wako university wengi wao. Kwa hivyo inampa challenge kuwa ako na maisha, after jela bado kuna maisha. Pale jela ikuwa mwisho wa maisha.
According to Leah Lumbisia, a teacher and advisor at Gitothwa Starlets, she has taken it upon herself to offer counsel to girls who have served time in prison.
So, before we took her, first of all we talked to our girls. They knew she was coming and they knew where she was coming from because they had played with her in Kamae. So we prepared them psychologically to accept her. So when she came here, what we've been doing just to talk to her, and we thank God that she's accepting. She has accepted herself, she has accepted to change, and she's doing so well academically, field-wise, she's doing so well.
Kadzo's teammates shower her with accolades, stating that they have learned a lot from her.
Sisi tumejifunza kama wasichana tusikatae kufanya venye serikali inakataa. Tufollow tu venye inataka cause tunaweza drop there na tukose kuona familia zetu. So tunafaa tufollow venye yeye. Hiyo makosa pia sisi tufaa turekebishe juu pia sisi wengine tunafanya hivyo.
So kiuchezaji in the next 2-3 years Kadzo atakuwa amegrow na huenda maybe akabahatika ukampata kwa timu kubwa, ingawaje timu yetu pia sasa yaongoza ligi, tuko promoted tenda division 1, atajipata pale pia. Kwa hivyo atakuwa na nafasi nzuri ya kuendeleza talanta yake akiwa ligi ya juu.
As she endeavors to improve herself, her dreams and aspirations are that one day she will play for the Spanish professional women's football team FC Barcelona, as well as become a doctor. Ruth Washeke, Look Up Sports.
All right, that's where we wrap it up here on Look Up Weekend. Just do want to thank you so much for making time for the program tonight here on Lookuptv, and we are done. But says my director and my prompter guy. But my name is Brian Amwasa, and our language interpreter tonight has been Josephine Oko. Let's do this again tomorrow on Look Up Weekend on Sunday on the big number. All right, good. For those who are going out, it's Saturday. So take care. For those who are working tomorrow and you have church in the morning, good night.